Hello, hello, what's up? That's me, Gurun. So today I'm watching the random videos for a while, and the first video is Gen Z is finding amazing ways to survive unemployment. Basically, that's a relatable topic, even though I haven't been unemployed for too long, but still, I've had some rough times, so let's watch.
If you're a young person struggling to find a decent job,
Wait. I think I need to make it louder.
in this horrible economy, you're definitely familiar with LinkedIn, a website that's probably the bane of your existence at this point. So, what if I told you that the co-founder of LinkedIn himself, Reid Hoffman, recently made headlines when he predicted that by 2034...
Wait. What did this shoot? Okay, whatever.
Traditional 9-to-5 jobs will become
extinct.
And even more recently, a report came out that AI has already today replaced 14% of jobs. This isn't a futuristic sci-fi dystopia anymore.
I don't think so, actually.
This is already happening in front of our very eyes as we speak.
Hello, sir. Good, I don't know which time for you. Good afternoon, morning, evening. Just enjoy your time.
The 9-to-5 jobs we already hate so much are rapidly dying out, and it's time we figure out a way to evolve beyond them.
So I think this video will be basically about like AI is replacing the regular jobs, but I don't think that AI actually will replace all the jobs, because there are also many jobs which are rooted to the really complicated to be complicated, I mean, physical work like the plumbers, manufacturer workers, some kind of manufacturer workers, and like electricians and so on. I don't think that AI actually can replace all of these kind of professions. And actually, in the creative sphere, it's also debatable because actually people are preferring more non-artificial type of content than artificial, just because it's more naturally used. So yeah, I don't think that AI actually will replace all of the jobs. So yeah, responding to you, browser game, what it is about. You can send the link, I can check it after a while.
Evolution and survival of the fittest arguments have always been used to justify why we should be forced to get a career and why we deserve to just starve to death if we can't get a job. You hear delusional boomers regurgitating this nonsense all the time. Hey, it's not anything that's wrong with the system. This is just how evolution works. The strong survive and the weak get weeded out of existence. You see it all the time, even in nature. Now, like every
basically, I think that strong should mean that the most adapted person will survive the ever-changing world, and the current state of the world is exactly that kind of world, which is really rapidly changing. And I think that actually in this current state of the world, it's especially needed to adapt, to be able to adapt to changes, and be able to learn, be able to be flexible, and with the time, with the age, our cognitive functions are not as capable of actually be changed because of our neurological connections and stuff. And I think that is not that actually easy to do all of this. But yeah, I think the younger generation are actually more accustomed to the new way of the society, new environment. So I think that the newer generations are actually outperform the elder generations, just because they are more adaptable and more flexible, and they have the better learning ability.
Delusional boomer argument. There's so much hilariously wrong with this logic, I don't even know where to start. First of all, boomers themselves would never survive via the laws of nature. In the animal kingdom, when an animal gets too old, he sadly just gets kicked off his territory by a younger competitor and eventually dies of exposure. He doesn't get to sit around in a comfortable house collecting social security. The old and weak are always the first to get weeded out in the process of natural selection. Yeah, I highly doubt boomers will bring this up when they use evolution to justify why you should be forced to work for their dogshit wages. But let's put all that aside just for this video. For just the next 15 minutes or so, let's purely live by the laws of natural selection and survival of the fittest. You see, one thing these delusional boomers and corporate shills seem to forget is that if the laws of nature are just an inevitable part of life, then the very concept of a 9-to-5 job itself isn't exempt from this either. Work, jobs, and careers themselves can go extinct too. It's genetics weeded out by
I really
a better,
hope so,
superior
actually,
system.
because
And
I
it
hate
appears
9-to-5s.
Gen Z might just be evolving towards that
In Russia, that
right
is
now
9-to-6
as we speak.
or 9-to-9 or 9 to whatever hour you and the boss actually can imagine.
So, a lot of you guys have been asking me to list the names of the games I play in the background, as they look really fun to play and you guys understandably want to try them out yourselves. Well, I've decided to
What the hell is going
go
on,
a
actually?
step and beyond even just that. I've partnered up with the sponsor of today's video, Instant Gaming, so that not only can you be sold directly from Claire Obscure Expedition 33, click on the back to the video.
Chapter 1, traditional jobs are not traditional?
Why
what
is
sense?
it so hard to imagine a life without a so-called
I mean,
traditional?
yeah, because the 9-to-5 jobs are actually started to exist not as long time ago, because before it was basically the agricultural labor of the peasants, which has been the majority of the people, all of the existing history, and the people didn't have really the even the electricity, so they couldn't go to sleep later and then work till the late night. So many jobs actually lasted not as long as the jobs right now, actually. So in some ways we have the worse working conditions than before, even.
9 to 5. A life beyond the miserable daily grind of clocking in and clocking out every day for a paycheck. Well, part of the reason is that, at least in our lifetimes, this is all we've known. We simply haven't seen alternative systems, so we just quietly accept that this is just the way things are. But that's the thing. This is all we've known and observed in our lifetimes. But our lifetimes are a very small blip on the radar in comparison to the vast expanse of human history. And when we extend our scope beyond our limited 20 or 30-year perspectives, a whole new world opens up. Once you see that society has existed and thrived for thousands of years before 9 to 5 jobs, you now unlock your mind to the possibility that it could exist and thrive in a post 9 to 5 world as well. A traditional 9 to 5 job is called traditional because that's all we've known. But in reality, it's actually anything but traditional. When I think of tradition, I think of customs or ways of life that have been around for thousands of years. Marriage is a tradition. It's been around for thousands of years. Christmas is a tradition. It's been around for thousands of years. And
I mean, thousands, yeah. That's still kind of tradition, but paganism is more old, and it's more likely to be a tradition than Christianity. But Christianity is the tradition too, because thousands of years as well.
with how normalized 9 to 5 jobs are, you probably think that they too have been around for thousands of years.
No.
But the reality is that 9 to 5 jobs haven't been around for 1,000 years. They haven't even been around for 100 years. The modern standard of 9 to 5 work was established in 1926 when Henry Ford first introduced a 40-hour, 5-day work week. So now you know, the concept of a 9 to 5 job is actually a very, very recent development relative to the 10,000 years of recorded human history. So what was work like before that? Well, for about 150 years before that, during the Industrial Revolution, working conditions were at their absolute worst. People were forced to work 12 hours a day in god-awful factory conditions for terrible low wages.
Really terrible.
And corporate chills will often use this to justify why modern-day 9-to-5 jobs are so good. Hey, you should be grateful you're working for $7 an hour at McDonald's. You could be toiling away in a dangerous factory right now. But the problem is, even the Industrial Revolution is very recent by historical standards. What happens when you ask the question, what were jobs like before that? Well, this is where things get very, very interesting. We often think that because we have better technology today, our working conditions must be better as well. But in many aspects, the exact opposite is true. Technology has been...
Yeah, technology isn't the solve to all problems, and actually with the better technology there are more ways to exploit workers and to actually say them work more just because you have the technology to support longer hours of labor.
Been used to enslave and exploit us as much as it's been used to uplift us. Perhaps the best example of this is electricity and artificial lighting. Prior to the invention of artificial lighting, there was a biological hard cap limit on how much one could work. When the sun went down, you had no light, no ability to see, and it was physically impossible to work even if you wanted to. Not only did this limit the amount of hours in a day you could work, it also limited the amount of days in a year you could work. During dark winter months when the sun sets very early, people were essentially forced to take extended 3-month Christmas vacations, whether winter months when the sun...
exact location I saw in my dream long ago. I saw that these kind of buildings covered by snow and the really tiny street. Oh my god, that's exactly like in my dream. Holy shit. Why did I even dreamed about this? I'm not German. I didn't really search for this kind of architecture. What is going on?
Sets very early, people were essentially forced to take extended 3-month Christmas vacations, whether they wanted to or not. This was further compounded by the fact that almost all work was agricultural work back then, and it was impossible to do farm work when the ground was frozen solid. I've made a bunch of historical videos comparing work from previous...
No more ass kicking, get back to work. No, screw you. 20 hours work week, 60 hours. Oh my god. Yeah, and really often it is like 80 or 90 even working hours a week.
Pre-industrial eras to our modern soulless 9-to-5 prison, and perhaps the most stunning discovery I made is that almost every society in human history, regardless of culture, location, or era, followed this exact same pattern of work. Ancient Roman slaves had anywhere between 100 to 130 days of holiday per year. Medieval peasants, some 1,000 years later, an estimated 100 to 150 days of holiday per year. Even in ancient Egypt, where it's actually not too cold to farm in the winter, there was a 4-month season known as Akhet, when the Nile River would flood and make farming impossible. This, by the way, no longer happens today, as the Aswan High Dam was completed in 1970 and now artificially prevents the Nile from flooding. It seems that even Mother Nature, through thousands of years of history, is telling us that this soulless 9-to-5 grind, 5 days a week, 50 weeks out of the year, is just not normal. So, yeah, you've been lied to your whole life to believe a 9-to-5 career is normal, traditional, and just the way things are.
Yeah, I've never actually
now, for the overwhelming majority of human history, a 9-to-5 was anything but
that is
normal.
traditional. But how that could be traditional if that was invented in the first part of the last century?
When you discover how much you've been lied to, it's a bit infuriating at first. But this is a good thing.
What is this game even? It looks like the one episode of the Life, Death and Robots, where the similar style of robots walked the Earth, which has been after the nuclear winter, I think, and the people's eradication. It was a nice episode, but actually I liked more the Zima Blue episode. It's the most heartwarming episode, I think.
First step towards deprogramming yourself from the centuries of brainwashing used to enslave us, and it opens up a door for the possibility of a newer and better future. After all, if we existed and thrived for thousands of years before 9-to-5 jobs were invented, what's to say we couldn't do the same after they're gone? Hey guys, just wanted to say real quick, thank you guys so much for this incredibly rapidly growing community we're building here. I really appreciate all your support so much. If you're new here and enjoying this content, definitely consider subscribing for more epic takedowns of delusional boomer logic. Beyond the dogshit wages and terrible conditions we're all too familiar with today, there's one other major reason 9-to-5 jobs today just aren't worth it for Gen Z and millennials the way they were for our boomer and Gen X parents. And that is the issue of job security. Corporate loyalty is gone. Job security is non-existent. Companies treat you like worthless, disposable trash and will not hesitate to fire you the second they could save a single penny from doing so.
I'm feeling this exactly thing, and in Russia, even if you are graduated from the reputable university and working such professions like the lawyer, financial specialists and so on, you will not get the much salary from the start, and from the start till the, I think, till the 10 years passed. So the job market is pretty much fucked, and most jobs are at least in the bigger cities, not counting the Moscow here, but actually including Moscow too in some point, the $500 a month, that's like a kind of a middle salary, but actual salary, the major salary which the people are getting here is the $300 a month, which is quite low. And even after the graduation, it's really, I mean, even after the graduation and with the experience of work for even like 5 years, it's really hard to find a job which is more than $500 a month, which is totally sucks. I hope, I mean, I'm really sure that US doesn't have this problem, that they doesn't have the problem of the middle income tribe.
But we all know this by now, so what's the solution? Well, in my experience, the only way to combat this corporate scumbag behavior is to give them a taste of their own medicine and beat them at their own game. You have to treat them as even more worthless and disposable than they treat you. So, how do you do this? Well, I believe it all begins by building individual skill sets rather than depending on a career. You'll soon see real-life examples of how young Zoomers are already figuring out how to do this in the next chapter. But let's first talk about why this is really the only way to go at this point. Since employers treat you like disposable trash, you have to treat them in the exact same way. We're pretty much stuck in a gig economy these days anyway, so might as well double down on it. Build an individual skill set and accumulate as many different streams of income as you can, so that if any one of them disposes of you, you have plenty of backup options to fall back on.
That's really clever actually, to have different source of income, and if you will have the if the one stream of income will disappear, you will have another one and another one and another one. That's really good actually.
Every one of your employers as disposable trash and be ready to ghost them the second it becomes advantageous for you to do so. Trust me, they would absolutely treat you the exact same way. The only disadvantage really of being an independent contractor or freelancer is the lack of stability, and if you're from America, getting health insurance benefits is really tricky. However, employers are doing everything they can to deny healthcare benefits anyways, and with how screwed the job market is, there is zero stability.
Wait.
Absolutely treat you the exact same way. The only disadvantage really of being an independent contractor or freelancer is the lack of stability, and if you're from America, getting health insurance benefits is really tricky. However, employers are doing everything they can to deny healthcare benefits anyways.
Employers are doing everything to deny the healthcare benefits? Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the insurance system, but as I've heard some information, if for example, like this narrator said that employers are actually trying everything what is in their power to deny you from getting the proper health care, and the insurance companies are actually trying to find the ways to deny your healthcare coverage as well. So it's really fucked up that if it is working like this. I expected that it works way more efficient actually. That insurance companies are just covering your healthcare bills, and you just pay for the insurance monthly, and that's it. But yeah, I didn't dig into this deeply enough, but still, I'm not really sure how it actually works, and as long as am I hearing the different opinions about the system, as long as I am actually getting very disappointed, because I think the healthcare is the real crucial part of just operating in the society fully functional, and it's really a big part of the well-being of each person. So it couldn't be just thrown away and easily denied. It's so fucked up.
And with how screwed the job market is, there is zero stability in a traditional 9-to-5 career anyways at this point. So there's really no advantage to being loyal to a company anymore. Since they've completely gutted loyalty at this point, you must now become a total mercenary yourself and treat them as even more worthless and disposable than they treat you. This is just a necessary counter adaptation we have to make in order to survive at this point.
Yeah, I do agree.
This isn't just a hypothetical strategy anymore. This is something young Zoomers are already doing in this very community itself to evolve past this broken 9-to-5 hellscape. And they're starting to see some early signs of success. This is Og King, a young 20-something-year-old guy from our very own Discord community. Like many of you, he got totally fed up with the typical nonsense we're all facing from the traditional 9-to-5 job market and these entitled snowflake employers, wanting 3 to 5 years experience for a minimum wage entry-level job, asking a million stupid, irrelevant job interview questions just to humiliate you. So after discovering our channel and our community, he was inspired to take matters into his own hands, and instead of pointlessly applying to all these jobs that aren't going to reply anyways, he began building his own income stream. He started simply mowing lawns for his neighbors and building as wide of a client base as possible rather than depending on one employer. He also started his own YouTube channel, which has amassed a very respectable 700 subscribers in his first few months, putting him very close to the 1,000 he needs for monetization. By the way, I've linked his channel in the description. Definitely follow him if you can. Let's help another one of us escape this broken 9-to-5 system. Although the money isn't great yet, it's not like a traditional 9-to-5 job would pay any better in this economy anyways. His goal is to eventually build another skill set such as walking dogs, for example, then perhaps be able to move abroad with his YouTube income stream. There's still a long ways to go, but he's off to a great start by realizing careers are BS. They're going extinct, and he's looking to evolve beyond it, as well as building up a wide client base so that he can treat his employers like disposable trash, the same way employers treat you. Fair is fair. This goes both ways. Next up, we have Acid Suzanne, another commenter in one of my recent videos. A 22-year-old girl from the city who got fed up with the soulless corporate grind and decided to quit her corporate job after a few years of saving up to buy a very cheap plot of farmland in the countryside. Right now, she only has to spend 1 to 2 hours per day tending to her chickens and goats, which are very low maintenance animals. And with a few apple and fruit trees growing in the garden, this is essentially enough to sustain yourself without having to work a 9-to-5. After reading her comment,
she actually sells her products like milk and meat and apples and some other stuff to survive there. Is that the case actually? And I actually heard that investing in land, of course, in the developed countries like US, Australia, England, etc., is really beneficial right now. It's like a new Bitcoin, because you can do many things actually with the land. You can rent this land to the farmers and they can work on your land, and you can have the money from the renting this piece of land, and you also can have some money from their income even at some point. So that's called usufruct, as I know. I can be mistaken, but yeah, I think that is called usufruct, as it has been learned this at the law school. So yeah, that's the new gold, the land, and no wonder that the richest people like Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Microsoft, I forgot his name and surname, unfortunately, they are actually buying really big portions of land to have the benefits from it in the future, or in the current state of economy. So yeah, I think that's really beneficial.
I decided to do some research, as I was a bit surprised. I was always told that farm work was so brutal, and this is why we should be so grateful for our soulless cubicle jobs. And this is actually true, but with a major caveat. Yes, farm work does indeed involve many long hours of intense physical labor, but only because modern day farmers are forced to work for capitalist profits. If you're farming for yourself, however, it's a totally different story. According to Acid Suzanne, it's a simple 1 hour per day to take care of the chickens, about 30 minutes per day to milk the goats. They pump enough milk that she even has enough cheese to sell for some quick spare pocket change at the end of the day. She only has to work twice per month according to her, then she's free to do art or whatever other passions she has.
Really? So that cheese is actually spoiling her. What is going on with my... Okay. So that income from the cheese selling actually spoiling her for the whole months? Holy moly. That's really big amount of money should be to spoil her, and if she's enjoying her life like the narrator said, then it should be a good plan actually. But of course that's working mostly in the developed countries where you can actually live from it. From the less developed countries, it's better to just go to the city and try to work there, to find the work there as well, because the villages are not the best places to be in, because they are really underdeveloped in the not developed countries. I'm mostly talking about Russia right now because I'm Russian.
Highlights another point I really want to emphasize here. We've talked a lot about establishing multiple streams of income in this video. One thing people always overlook, however, is that finding a way to significantly reduce your living expenses can count as one of them. Whether that's by moving abroad where the cost of living is cheaper, or in her case simply starting...
Yeah. Moving abroad where living is cheaper, but it's much better. That if you will have the income from the countries like US, then you can move to any Latin American country or Central American country or Mexico, whatever you want, and live the life fullest. That's absolutely awesome.
Farm, being able to reduce your living expenses is just as, if not more valuable than making money at this point, especially with this insane inflation we've all been dealing with the last 5 years or so. So it's still very early on in this seismic evolutionary shift away from traditional 9-to-5 jobs. There's undoubtedly going to be a challenging transition period as we're figuring all this stuff out. However, if there's any generation smart and courageous enough to evolve past this abusive, toxic 9-to-5 corporate hellscape, it's Gen Z. And as you can see, there are already some very promising stories emerging in our very own community, and hopefully after seeing this, you now have a better idea on how you yourself can evolve past the need for a 9-to-5 job that you never wanted to begin with.
Am I lagging even? What is going on here? Okay, that's Russian video. I'm gonna watch it. Everything is lagging. Gosh. So let's...
If you do this one thing,
let's react on the another job-related content. Do this weekly and never apply for a job again.
single week for the rest of your career, you are never going to have to apply for a new job ever again.
Okay.
So this is an iced coffee, not an espresso martini.
What to
or
do?
Is it?
What
Hello,
should
hi,
I
my
do?
name is Emily Durham. I'm a careers coach, a careers content creator. Basically, consider me your internet friend who, to be honest, is always going to be a little too honest. So here's the thing, the job market, bad, scary, not good. Is it getting better? Probably not. And the tea has always been that up to 80% of jobs are actually filled in this
Actually, I've
secret
heard
job market.
that
They call it the underground.
in US, the jobs were way better in the 90s, and the salary was way better as well. So it was quite of a nice time to work during the 90s, as I've heard actually. But yeah, I cannot relate because I'm not an American. Wait. I didn't switch it. Okay, yeah. Okay.
If you do this one thing every single week for the rest of your career, you are never going to have to apply for a new job ever again. Also, this is an iced coffee, not an espresso martini. Or is it? Hello, hi, my name is Emily Durham. I'm a careers coach, a careers content creator. Basically, consider me your internet friend who, to be honest, is always going to be a little too honest. So here's the thing, the job market, bad, scary, not good. Is it getting better? Probably not. And the tea has always been that up to 80% of jobs are actually filled in this secret job market. They call it the underground job market. Basically, it's through referrals and through word of mouth. Most people who are getting jobs that you're seeing on LinkedIn posting that they got this job, that they got that, it's because they knew someone, they had a plug at the company.
Yeah. Most jobs has been taken by the connections, and because the one person knows another person who does this and that. That's okay, but it's making the LinkedIn and similar sites are mostly useless because you're applying on jobs really persistently, and eventually you cannot find the jobs because of this issue.
They were able to pull some strings. They found out about the job before it was posted, they interviewed for the job before it was even available, and boom, suddenly that bitch that you went to high school with is sitting in your dream job. But if you want to tap into this underground, secretive little job market situation type of deal that's happening, this is what you need to be doing. Regardless of where you are in your career, even if you are still a student, I need you to do this. Every single week, I need you having a coffee chat with one person from the company that you want to work at. This can be your current employer, this can be another company. Before you freak out and say, Emily, that's a lot of work and I've heard this advice before, no, because if you know me, you know I'm not about to deliver you some bullshit, shitty advice, okay? I'm not going to lie, it is a little bit time consuming, but you know what's very time consuming? Taking 40 minutes every day to apply for jobs for months on end without hearing back. So pick your struggle. Even if you have zero current connections, the easiest way to do this is to start with somebody you know. Maybe it's your family. Do you know anyone who works in this industry? Your friends, your professors, your peers. Ask someone to connect you to someone. If that takes you nowhere, maybe you're the only person in your social circle working in a given industry, go to LinkedIn and look up your ideal job title. Maybe it's a finance manager, senior marketing manager. Look up people with that job title at the companies you want to work at in your city and reach out to a bunch of them on LinkedIn. Expect that for every 10 to 12 messages you send, only one person is responding. It is what it is. Regardless of the path of how you're...
Actually, I haven't done this before. I haven't messaged anyone like this on LinkedIn. Is it actually working or not? I mean, I have to try it somewhat.
Actually connecting with these people, what you're basically asking for is a 20-minute conversation centered on them. The focus is 1000% on them. People are much more likely to respond when you say stuff like this because, hello, we have egos. We love to talk about ourselves. As I sit here talking about myself into a camera. Do you know what I mean? So when you get on the phone with this person, I want you to start off by introducing yourself and why you want to be on that call. I'm Emily, I'm a finance student, and I was looking to learn a little bit more about your career journey because I found your growth at KPMG to be fascinating. can I hear a little bit more about you? They're already feeling buttered up. They're going to share a little overview of their career journey, and you're going to have 3 to maybe 5 questions prepared specifically for them. I saw you move from a senior analyst to a director over the course of 3 years. What were some of your key learnings? What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Any advice for someone like me starting off or transitioning or whatever it might be? Literally make the purpose of this conversation to absorb information from them. If you don't think you need information from this person, trust me, do this, because the trick I'm going to deliver at the end is going to change your fucking life. You're going to answer these questions, maybe they ask you some back, and at the end of the phone call, you are going to deliver a call to action. Now, if you did not vibe with this person or you feel like they're not aligned, it's okay to say thank you, I really appreciate this, you hang up, you never speak to them again. But if the conversation was valuable, you're going to say 2 things. Thank you so much for your time, I would love for us to stay in touch, and is there anyone else in your network you would recommend I connect with? Do you want to know how people build a network that gets them hired, that connects them to these hidden jobs? It's through doing this. The person on the phone might be like, yeah, sure, blah, 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 but they're not going to go out of their way to hunt you down to do you a favor. After the call, a couple hours later, you're going to wait. You're not.
So you're basically asking them to promote you to the certain other person which they know, which can be hiring currently. So that's could be like that. I mean, that's could work, but I'm not 100% sure about this. And is this even not as hard as actually getting response from the companies on LinkedIn which are hiring right now? Is this not as hard to actually find the person you have been connected with through LinkedIn, for example, because not many people have too many connections which can lead to employment eventually. I mean, I've been in some situations where the one person suggested me at work and I got employed, but not works as suitable. That's the first thing for you or for the boss. Not every employee is suitable, and yeah, it's just not working all the time.
Gonna be a fucking weirdo about it. You're gonna wait. You're gonna send them an email. Thank you so much for your time. Again, I would love to stay in touch. Why don't we book a call about a month from now? And again, if there's anyone in your network that you think is a good fit for me to connect with, I would love to be connected. Typically, they're gonna say, yeah, you can talk to my colleague here. You can talk to this person. You're gonna follow that exact same recipe over and over and over again. And how you are never going to have to apply for another job is you're gonna have a keep warm strategy. Let's say over the next couple months, you generate 10, maybe 15 people you've got in your network. That doesn't mean you need to be on the phone with these people every single week. If it feels appropriate and like you're having a high value conversation, book a call with them once every couple of months. But to be honest, it doesn't even need to be that deep for it to be valuable. Add them on LinkedIn, shoot them a message once every month and a half, ask how they're doing, follow up on something that they shared, send them an article, talk to them like they're your friend, obviously in a work appropriate way. When you're doing that, 2 things are working in your favor. Firstly, if there's ever a job at their company or in their network, you're already going to be top of mind because you've been reaching out to them on and off for several months. They know you're engaged and they know you're consistent and reliable, which is more than a lot of people can say. But the biggest one is you're going to keep track of job postings at their company and in their network. So when you see a job posted that you're interested in at the company they're working at, you're going to reach back out and it's not going to feel weird because you've been doing that. Hey, how are you? I've noticed you guys are hiring for blah, blah, blah role. Do you happen to know who's recruiting for that position? Boom. They're gonna refer you or connect you to the role. You're not gonna like ask for a referral right out the gate, you're just gonna do that. You're also going to create their connections on LinkedIn. And when you have a job posted at one of the companies their connections works at, you're gonna message them and say, hey, bit of a shot in the dark, but you happen to know anyone who works at this company? I'd love to learn more about this role. The chances are if they like you and they see this message, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, my girl Susanna works there, I'll just shoot you her email. Oh my God, incredible. Another great way to expedite this is through networking events, but specifically networking events, not job search events. Career fairs do not hit like they used to, okay? Because of this competition, they're inundated with candidates. It's really hard to have high value
There are too many candidates, actually. I do agree. The competition is too high.
Conversations, but going to networking events in your industry is a more casual way to build relationships. You need to be playing the long game. And networking doesn't have to feel stuffy, it doesn't need to be corporate. You are basically creating allies and friends. That is literally it. And that, my friends, is a piece of advice I wish I had earlier
yeah, I think that's valuable.
Because I applied for a bunch of jobs that I never heard back from, not realizing that somebody's friend actually is the person who got hired. And I could have been that friend if I was proactive enough to build real relationships. I don't really know how to end this video because that was like pretty short and sweet and snappy, and that's like the vibe over here. We just like to regurgitate information with an iced coffee in hand, but thank you for clicking on this video. If you have questions, things you want me to cover, let me know. Love ya.
Yeah, that could be valuable. Okay, the next job related video is Kevin Smith. You must be unreasonable to achieve your dreams. Okay. I thought it's about the dream job, but it's more broad topic. So
I stand before you on Big Think as the first to stand. Kids, all my energy is delivered this way. So I asked the good folks, I was like, can I stand? Yeah. And here we are. So let's go on the journey together, on our feet. I feel in order to get to where you're going requires a reasonable amount of unreasonability. Not like, hey man, I'm gonna jump off a building and fly without the aid of a jetpack.
I mean, that's about thinking out of the box. Yeah,
reasonable amount is just like, you know, why not me? Hey kids, my name's Kevin Smith. Started in 1994 with a little motion picture named Clerks, and that's how people came to know me, was as a writer-director. Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jane, Silent Bob Strike Back,
Really?
Girl, Cop
Jason
Out,
Bob?
Red State, Tusk. The list goes on, kids. I've got 16
films.
movies. I'm heading toward my 17th. So mostly my career, I've been a filmmaker, but somewhere along the line, I decided to just become myself for a living professionally. So my real title is Professional Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Everybody, mostly everybody except people who are born rich, everybody has had a shitty job. And that's what Clerks is about. Having a job you hate so much that you do anything else at the job to forget about the fact that you're there to work.
This guy's going through all the eggs, look.
Relatable.
This has been going on for 20 minutes now.
At the end of the day, there's always going to be some job you don't want that you can take. I'd rather die trying to do something I love doing and hope it works out than just kind of commit to that right away. So I always had a piece of me
Yeah, I do agree.
that felt like the risk's worth taking. Why not try to make your dreams come true?
But how to
dreamt
recognize
about
what you like doing to actually make it your job, make your earnings from what you like doing, how to recognize it. Many people are just don't know what they like actually. They just coming to their monitor and watching some random stuff, watching like sports, and that's it, coming exhausted from the job, and many people are drinking as well, so it's hard to even recognize your passion, and it's easier for the people who are passionate with some sorts of labor, like any source of labor can be example, like the law, finance, just making something with your hands.
Movies. I'd seen a motion picture called Slacker, written and directed by Richard Linklater, and he was a filmmaker working in Austin, Texas. I did not realize that Austin, Texas, where Slacker was made, was the capital of Texas. All I heard was this kid made a movie in Texas, in Nowheresville, Texas, and it worked out. Well, maybe I can make a movie in Nowheresville, New Jersey. I've said, what's the story I could tell? I have access to this convenience store. I work in it all the time. I've never seen a movie made in a convenience store before. Maybe that could be my thing. After I made the flick, right, I make Clerks, and I make it on credit cards, $27,575. And I was steamrolling toward this one event, not Sundance. It is called the IFFM, the Independent Feature Film Marketplace. The idea of the marketplace is you fill it with as many potential buyers.
You know, it's mostly about the countries with possibilities. The country which can actually offer you possibilities, because not every place can make you shine. For example, if your city doesn't have the theater, you will not be an actor. That's as simple as that, and you just have to be in the right place in the right time to live the better life. And to live the better life, to be in the right place in the right time, you have to grind in the lesser suitable place for you to actually save the money and go to the place where you will be more suitable to actually grind, to work the life fullest.
Press as possible. See the movie. It's not a film festival. It's a marketplace about sales. We go, and the only people in the audience at the Angelica Film Center are me and the cast and crew. So 10 of us, and we all worked on the movie. And the first 10 minutes of watching my movie on the big screen, this was the thought process. My God, why did I do this? Why is everyone look so terrible? This movie looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. Why won't they stop cursing? What was I thinking? I had a kind of breakdown in the moment in the theater. About 15 minutes into the movie, I cognitively reframed it. And I was like, you know what? 2.5 years ago, you were sitting in this movie theater watching Richard Linklater's Slacker, and you had no vision of being a filmmaker. And here you are 2.5 years later, and you're watching your own movie in this theater. And yeah, it didn't fill up the way you hoped, but you did it. So this costs money that you don't have. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go get another job. And if you have to, you're gonna get a third job. You'll get another job and another job if you have to, so that you pay off this credit card debt. And then when you pay off that debt, you're gonna do this one more time before you leave this world, because did you know who you were for the first time in your life when you were standing on that set? You knew exactly who you were supposed to be. Your whole life prior to that, it's been a mystery. And then bam, just like that, everything became crystal clear. Don't sell out on this just because it didn't work the way you wanted it to. Remember that feeling of finally knowing who you are, and get back to that feeling one day. It may cost time and it may cost money, but get back to that. That was the most gratifying thing you've ever felt in this lifetime. Mercifully, somebody said, you should take this movie to Sundance. And we submitted it. It got picked up for Sundance, one of 16 movies of 400 that were submitted. Miramax bought it. Suddenly I went from being a guy who worked in a convenience store and made a movie to having a career in film. I got to pay off that debt. I didn't have to worry about that. That was 31 years ago. My parents, when I was heading toward film, they were like, what's your backup? You know, because parents care, and they feel like the field that I was heading toward was one that success was never going to be guaranteed.
Yeah, you have to do what you like, otherwise you will not be successful in the field which you absolutely hate. Yes, I am agreed with this, but as I say, no, not every place of where you are now are actually have the same opportunities that you desire. So if you want actually to make something from your hobby, from your from your passion, at first you have to detect it somehow by trying the various things, try and experiment what will work for you, what will not work for you, etc., etc. And then you have to find the opportunity to actually make it come true, to maybe move to another city, maybe another country, and to actually reach out the people who can help you to be on the place you belong to. So it's a long journey, and the people have to be consistent in it. But if you found something what you like, then it will be much easier, because you will be liking the process of what you're doing actually, and that will fulfill your whole existence, your whole process of doing something, even if you are doing something pro bono. So I think that should make sense.
In
But
the case of
really often it's can be just a hobby, can stay just a hobby, because we not all the people who are that lucky to be doing what we do like. Sometimes we just have to tolerate what we don't like in order to survive. That's how it works, I feel. But it's better to have the direction and work, and have the commitment to this kind of picture in your head of who you want to be, who you want to end up after some time, after like 5-10 years, and grind towards it. Otherwise it's just directional otherwise you are losing your direction in life, and living without the direction is really sad, and to be honest, really meaningless, I think.
their idiot son probably wasn't even going to happen. But having a reasonable amount of unreasonability allowed me to be like, well, I understand, reasonably speaking, that a lot of people don't bet on themselves and make a movie even though they've never made one before. But I got a reasonable amount of unreasonability here. And so I pursued a career of extended adolescence because, I'll be honest with you kids, one day you die screaming like my father did. You might as well go for it. You might as well do the thing that you dream about doing, for heaven's sake.
I mean, that's inspirational, but that's not working for any person in any circumstances, so it's really tricky. I'm ending this